Welcome to Second Wisdom Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by EFG Inc., a social media marketing company. Today we're your hosts Artem and Alex, and today with us we have Jillian. Hi Jillian.
Hello.
We don't really like to do like long introductions and explanations of who you are. We just kind of give you the platform and you tell us who you are, what is it that you do, a little bit of maybe your background of what you've done before and sort of how you ended up doing what you're doing right now.
I don't want to age myself by going on for too long, so I'll keep this super short.
Don't be silly.
I'm a business growth strategist.
Okay.
What the heck is that?
Perfect for our podcast, right?
Right? Exactly. I work with small businesses primarily. Small businesses technically is any company under 100 employees, so that's kind of everybody. But I work with really small businesses, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, mompreneurs, and help them create a strategy for growth. A lot of times they're doing all the tactics, so they're chasing around all the things, and they have no idea why they're doing any of the things, but it's because some online guru told them that that they should do this, and then somebody else said they have to do this, and they don't really know why, but they're doing all the things and nothing's working. So I just sort of help them bring everything into alignment and streamline and focus and chill out, and that's what I do with the small businesses. They can't really afford for me to write their strategy for them. Some of the larger clients that I have that, they might have 10, 15, 20 employees and they've got, heads of divisions or departments, and it's hard to get everyone on the same page. In those cases, I'll go in and work within the company for a month and get all the teams together and help them create a strategy that they can roll out. So that's really fun, and I'll do a few of those a year. But for the most part, I'm working with the smaller entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, really just getting their strategies built and teaching them how to do it themselves, because they can't afford to.
It must be extremely time consuming dealing with so many clients at the same time.
I'll do them in workshops, so I'll get them all together in a room.
Fair enough.
And do a live workshop, and now I've just brought that platform online. So the strategy building process that I have been following for ever, for 25 years. In my previous life, I worked in agencies, and it was the usual agency exec story of working your way up, and I built brand strategies for hundreds of massive brands.
Wow, amazing.
And
which ones, for example?
Like Frank's Red Hot Dogs.
Oh, really? Okay, well, amazing.
Cool.
No way.
Durex condoms.
Okay.
Fun too. Canadian Club. So many, lots of tons of brands, and I ran an experiential marketing division of an agency. I did all the strategy, creative strategy for that agency as well. So I was able to work on a ton of different brands. Whether I actually executed an experiential marketing campaign within it or not, I was still orchestrating the whole strategy of their brand.
Amazing.
And it just was, it was really, really great. Super fun, and I totally burnt out. And realized, I'm okay, I'm never going to get equity in this agency, but I was the first employee and helped to build it, so I might as well just go start my own thing. And when I did, that's when I really found a love for working with the small entrepreneur startups. Just so much passion and big dreams, and they just are so excited about everything they're doing, and that would get me all excited. So I would sort of jump on, get caught in their wake, and then realize, okay, actually this person can't pay me a dime. This is not a great business model for me. So I had to figure out how to help them and still actually be able to have a business and not have to go work for someone else.
Well, it's perfect. It's perfect for our podcast because we're, like I was mentioning to you before we started this interview, is we're trying to kind of address a lot of the businesses that nobody really covers, and a lot of the time it is the smaller businesses, right? I mean, because if you look at majority of the people that are operating in in Ontario and Canada, in North America, most of them are small entrepreneurs or people that are just trying to get started, or people that have been doing it for a while but are having difficult time and struggling. And speaking to somebody like you would be the perfect thing to really. And considering if you've worked for agencies and if you've helped develop such iconic brands too, that in itself is. I think that's an invaluable experience to have in order for you to really give advice to other people, and it definitely gives you a lot of credibility for sure.
Absolutely. And it's funny because small, like entrepreneurs or startups, they're always like, oh, well, I'm not that big yet. I don't need a strategy yet. Like, you're not going to get big if you don't have strategy. You're like, we got to get this thing moving here. You need to actually be paying attention to what you're doing and why you're doing. Everything is so strategic because you've got no money. You can't waste time. You can't waste money on hoping that it's going to work. Like, hoping is not a strategy. That's like what you do at Christmas. You get a present.
Hope I got that maple leaf sweater, right?
Yeah, I hope
Not the Canadians.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the Canadians, of course,
my
but
husband got the right hint when I was dropping all those hints. Like, that's Christmas.
Yeah.
It's not your business, right?
Fair enough, of course.
So, and so many of them don't think they're big enough yet to have a strategy or to hire a business coach or to, invest in their business. And they're like, oh, well, I have $50. I'm like, you're great. Actually, go to the spa with the $50 because it's not going to do anything in your business. Like, you need to actually invest and have a plan. And just throwing money like $400 here, $400 there, and learn how to do YouTube or learn how to do, social media or whatever. Save it. Hire someone that does it for real, and then focus on the thing that you do. Like, small business owners start a business because they're really good at a thing, whatever it is.
Of course,
they're really good at knitting, and all their friends ask them to make stuff for them, and they've made some money doing that. So, and they have this really big passion that is costing them a lot of money. This hobby. And so their husband's like, it's costing a lot of money, this hobby, so they decide they're going to make a business out of it just so they can keep doing it. And then all of a sudden it gets popular and they're swamped and they don't know what to do next. And all they just want to do is knit.
Do you think it's because that maybe they're a little bit afraid of that success, maybe, to some extent?
So, because a lot of times it wasn't the intent in the first place. I mean, sure, there are a ton of entrepreneurs now that are like hell-bent on becoming the next seven-figure success story. And peace out, me too. Like we're all there. But there's a fair number of people that are starting businesses in their basements, and they're so excited to be able to call themselves a business that they're fine. And they haven't actually stopped to realize that they haven't made a dime in 5 years. They've just been covering their costs of their hobby. And unless you're making money, it's not a business, it's a hobby. And that realization comes at some point in an entrepreneur's journey. And then they're like, oh, deflated. Oh, really? Oh, man. And then they'll get serious. So I'm trying to get the word out before they get to that point, before they lose 5 years of barely breaking even. And like, you can actually turn this into your full-time job if it's a side hustle, or you can have it pay off your mortgage faster, or if you actually look at it and plan for profit. Like, don't just plan to be anyone can start a business. We could do it right now in 15 minutes.
Go online. Exactly.
Right? And that's it. Call yourself a business and you're good. That's not a business. That's a business name registered with the company. It's not.
You don't even have to register. You can just do it yourself, really. And then if you make it over a certain amount, then you go register it.
Then
right?
you have to make it legal once you have to start paying taxes. But like anyone can start anything, and they made it so easy. And then you can like start a business on your phone. You do a website, click, swap, and then it's on to tactics. And oh wow, I can talk to all the people. And well, so who are you actually trying to sell to? Anyone that will buy. Like, they don't know where to start sometimes,
Do you think it's like, I've read a study somewhere a while ago that said that a lot of times when people start a business, they never actually sit down to like put together a business plan, right? So majority of people, they don't really actually have any specific goals set out for exactly what they're trying to achieve with a lot of the things that they do. And I mean, there's a lot of resources online where you can go and essentially just plug in all the different things that you wanted to accomplish with it, and it'll essentially will spit out like a business plan for you, right? So
and so there's a business plan, which I think if you start a business and you're serious about starting a business, you will put a business plan together, because I think most people that have any kind of business sense and that aren't kind of stumbling in it from like a hobby to turning from a hobby business to like a real business. So anybody other than those people will actually sit down and do a business plan, because maybe they're looking for investment, or maybe they're just looking for a line of credit, or they want to open up a business bank account, and so they go to the bank and the banker says, you should put together a business plan to see if we can get you a line of credit for your business. Cool. So they go away and they put a business plan together, or they'll just do that just to vet the idea through in their head. Super smart idea, great. But then that's the last time that they think or act strategically for the next 5 years. Then they're just winging it and like go flying by the seat of their pants. So when they come to me and ask me for, can you help me with my social, or can you help me, figure out why I'm not getting as many sales? And I ask them what their strategy is, and they just like blink at me a few times. And there's some, you mean my business plan? And I'm like, no, the business plan was like your hypothesis. This is the actual experiment. Like, this is the test. These are, the strategy is that every single day, what are you going to do to get to the goal? And what's the goal? And this goal is going to get me to the next one, and ultimately to the destination that we're trying to go. Whether it's retire, whether it's sell the business, whether it's run the business forever and ever and leave it to my kids. Whatever, what is the goal? What is the long-term plan? And what are you doing today, every single day, to get there? You just have to move the needle a tiny little bit every day to have a massive impact at the end of the year. Like, if you increased every single month 2%, month over month over month over month, you would have a 200% increase at the end of the year of your revenue. Like, there's, I mean, we all know about all different math equations, and I don't actually know very many of them, but I know when math works in my favor, and how much a little tiny bit of effort, but consistently, can help you. There's a part of the program that I run online is called BLISS, and it's an acronym for Business and Life Inevitable Success Strategy. And on day 2 of the program, it's the numbers day, and everybody gets all like upset and wound up, and they work themselves into a tizzy. And I'm always so happy when they show up on day 2, because they know it's coming and they're worried about the numbers, and it's like they're all afraid of the numbers, and they haven't looked back at their numbers, and they think they made some money last year, but they don't really know. And
how do you not know that?
So I try not to say that, but it's true. Most small businesses are just they're run by one person. You're doing all the things. You can't sit and dwell and wallow in the fact that you didn't make money last month. You have to, like, it is a lot of self-talk to get your armor on and show up every day with a positive attitude, like, today's going to be great. I'm going to get all this stuff done. I'm going to be on social. I'm going to be all that in a bag of chips. I'm going to be, like, screaming and yelling and jumping up and down for my product and my business. And and you have to stay in that mindset. As soon as you stop and look back at what didn't work out so well, it's like it plummets your mojo a little. And that's, for a lot of entrepreneurs, that self-talk and that energy is all they've got. That's their like armor. And then the reality check is it threatens that armor. It threatens the thing that they're building up around them, the hope and that the carrot that they're chasing. Like, it just brings them back, and so they're afraid of it. But at the end of the day, after we've gone through and we've seen exactly what they've spent all their time and all their money on the year before, and we look at where they want to go, we can easily see the gap of, like, in your ideal state, what will you be spending your time and money doing, and how does that look like today? Well, it doesn't look anything like today. Great. So what are the things that are different, and let's start putting those pieces in place. Like, let's start moving the ball toward that direction. If you actually never want to touch another receipt in your whole life, then let's get you an assistant who will do it for you. So that you don't have to worry about that. So what do we need to do that? If that's the goal at the end of the year, is to hire an assistant, then what do we need to do this year to get your business to a place where you can hire somebody at the end of the year? P.S. You also have to pay yourself. Like, it's been a while since I've had an entrepreneur say, yes, I give myself a salary before the program. After the program, they're on the books. Before.
Do you think, like, the biggest reason for why, like, all this is happening with a lot of entrepreneurs is just, like, the fact that they think it's going to be easy going into starting their own business, and that they think they can do it all themselves, rather than, you know, hiring people to, you know, help them along the way. As you know, said, like it really is a reality check for a lot of people. So would you attribute it to just, you know, people just thinking it's easy to start their own business?
Yeah, and they're not wrong. It is a heck of a lot easier to start a business now than it ever was. It is easier to run your own ship for a very long time than it ever was before. Like, you used to start a business and then go find a space to move into.
You don't have to do that
There
nowadays,
are
yeah.
massive SaaS companies out there that they don't have a space at all. Like, everybody works. They've got a team of 30 people, and everyone works from all over the world. As long as they've got Slack and maybe some video conferencing platform, they're fine. They don't need to actually have overhead. So that game is changing, and it is easier to scale a business. It is easier to run a business, but it's not necessarily easier to succeed at a business than it ever was before, because
there's so many of them trying to do that, right? So
and competition's never really prevented anybody from rising.
I think it's a good thing, really, because it makes you want to be better, right, than everybody else.
Sure, but also, especially if you're carving out a new niche or there's a new niche developing and you're jumping in, the more people you have in that space talking about the same thing you're talking about gives it more credibility. Because then you go and talk to somebody and they're like, oh yeah, I've heard somebody else talking about that. Oh, it must be something valid, and then they're going to pay attention to you. They're not going to spend time going and finding the first person they heard it from.
Right.
They'll just talk to you because you're in front of them talking to them. So it's not a bad thing. So while it feels like everyone's doing the same thing, that's only because of the Google algorithm. Like, as soon as you open a business and you do a little bit of research about other people doing the thing you're doing, all of a sudden Google presents you with all of the things, like, of everybody else doing what you're doing. So you think, holy crap, everyone is doing this. This is not a unique idea. Oh my God. Like, but then if you still ask your neighbor anything, they're like, I've never heard of whatever you're talking about. Right? So it's fine. Like, don't panic. It's just because the internet knows what you're looking for, so it's going to bring it to you.
Yeah.
And it's all over your newsfeed.
And it's also the ability of other companies to know exactly what search words you use as well, and to steal that from you and use it for their own advantage too, right?
There are no secrets anymore. And that's just the thing. People will start a business now and they'll jump straight to tactics. And they start running with the tactics because you can go to your competitor and figure out what ads they've run recently, what the words were, if the ads were successful. You can figure out all of the back end stuff. You can go to like SpyFu or wherever and figure out all their search words and like there's no secrets. But if you're just running to tactic and there's no strategy in between, it doesn't matter how much information you have and how many tactics you put out there. If they're not synced into driving your message to your people with your product and your call to action, who cares?
I think it's almost like going back to what you said before. You know, it's like sitting down and reflecting on whatever has gone wrong in specific areas, and it's almost like what your service kind of helps them to do. Really, is to sit down and kind of reflect on the things that they've done wrong, and try to adjust and move from there.
We spend like 1 out of 30 hours on. Well, let's take a look backwards. It really is about, let's just be smarter with our time. How much time do you actually have? Because a lot of entrepreneurs are like, okay, I don't have to go to work. I can work all the hours. Well, yeah, except for they're at their dining room table. And then the kids come home from school. And then there's all the things.
For 3 hours, 4 hours, yeah.
So they really, if they really are serious about it, they've got maybe 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours of like solid work time to work. But they've built this business and they have this idea that they have to work all the hours. And for some businesses that might be true at the beginning if they're producing or like if they're building a product or especially a tech product like your app. There's a lot of time and you don't want to really get out of the space if you're in the flow. You don't want to break you don't want to break your mojo sometimes. I totally get that. But if your business strategy is built within your actual reality. So the reality of the time that you have, the reality of your resources, the fact that you don't have a budget, the fact that you have to be super resourceful and creative. Well, maybe the person that you're following, the person you're trying to become, the entrepreneur that's super successful, maybe you can't follow their lead on everything because they started with $1 million budget with their business. And so they did all the things, but they could afford all the things and you can't. So now what? It doesn't mean you can't do it, and it doesn't mean you can't be successful. It just means you have to be successful in a different way. You have to figure it out, and which means you can't be doing all the things. You have to do one thing. You have to be great at one thing, and then you have to find one way that reaches your audience the fastest and the best way, and you just do the one thing. Do one thing. Have one path to your customer and give them a very clear path back to you, and then you win. That's it. I mean, I love Gary Vee and all the things he says. He cracks me up, but he's like content, all the things. Oh my gosh, I have had clients that have come to me doing all the things, trying to do Gary Vee type of like content creation. I'm like, guys, he has a media company.
Yeah.
40 people working for him just doing the content.
Yeah.
And he could be booked every single day of the year for a talk somewhere. And so he just does a talk, and then his team goes and edits in chunks the one talk and puts all the like SEO behind it. So I mean, it's brilliant, and if you can do that, fill your boots. But we can't all do that. Like we just can't.
Yeah.
And especially when you're a coach of something, or you're a therapist, or you're, whatever you are. And Gary Vee's saying, well, you need content if you want to build credibility, or you need, like, you can't, you also have to do your job. You also have to, you have clients already, you have to serve them. You've got to, there's other things that
you have to,
do.
I think that the best way to really maybe put it together is just focus on the thing that you're really best at, and maybe outsource whatever you possibly can afford to get somebody else to really do that, right? Because I think instead of overwhelming yourself and burning yourself out, why don't you just focus on that really one thing that you're great at, and leave everything else to somebody else, or don't be afraid. Maybe go out and hire somebody part time. Maybe bring somebody else on who can help you solve some of the things, right?
The outsourcing conversation is like, oh my gosh, it gets so fiery every time I have it, because they're like, I haven't even paid myself yet. How am I going to pay somebody else? And they just don't see the metrics behind it. And I've tried to do it, but I'm like, okay, example. You spend 100 hours a month doing social media and figuring it all out, trying to do an ad and trying to do this and whatever. If you were paying yourself minimum wage, let's say, as an entrepreneur, let's just say you're paying yourself minimum wage, because most of them aren't even. And that 100 hours, you would have made $1,500, right? Yourself, minimum wage. Did you get paid $1,500 from all the time that you spent in social media last month? No. Great. Okay. Fine. If you took 100 hours in your month and you spent that 100 hours actually out there selling your services, selling your products, do you think that you would land a couple of clients that would at least bring in $1,500 or more? Oh yeah, for sure. 100 hours of selling? Yeah, for sure. I would land 3 or 4 clients for sure, but who's got 100 hours? I'm like, if you would stop doing the 100 hours of social media and you give that $1,500 to a social media person to do it, and they'll do it in half the time, and you spend your 100 hours that you just got back out there selling, you're going to bring in more than what you've just spent in hiring somebody. You're going to have more sales, and then you can pay them more, and then it's like, and
this episode is brought to you by
right?
EMG.
Yeah, some like guru.
No, I agree with you 100%. And this is going back to the struggle that we face every day with trying to approach customers ourselves too, because we tell them, listen, one of the things that we focus on specifically is trying to get you more business, and that's our primary focus. And if we can bring you 100 leads, and if you can close even let's say 2% of that, how you can make all that money back that you've paid us, to actually do all this stuff for you. So it's just like it's counterintuitive a lot of times when they try to reject, the proposal for them to make more money this way, right? So
it's funny because they're not doing like it's them chasing their tail around, and you just have to at some point business owners just have to put a stop to that crazy wheel and make a decision. And the easiest way to do that is to have a solid strategy, because in fact, you make all the decisions in the like 5 days that you're building the strategy, and then it's done and the strategy is built, and then all you have to do is just follow it, because you know that you had all your goals in mind when you built it, and so then it's just all chunked down to like weekly to-do lists, and you just do the thing. And if you can't do it, then you know that you've built in the finances to pay someone else to do it. And it's so easy. Or you know, at least in 2 months I need to figure out how to do a Facebook ad. So I'm going to learn, and I know that I've built in the time for me to learn how to do it and the money to be able to do it properly. So I'm going to do that. So it just takes a lot of the panic out of the equation, and it makes those decisions easier. It makes it easier for them to then continue to invest in their business, because they understand what is an investment and what is a waste of my time and money. Right? If it doesn't line up exactly with my goal, and it's not going to propel me forward, and I can't see the exact metrics that is going to get me there, then I'm not going to do it. And so it just makes that a lot easier for people to do. Any good ideas that come in through the year that aren't in your strategy, they're going to be a good idea next year. So if you're one of the people that has a really hard time saying no, most of my clients, they're like, but I don't want to say no, because what if I'm missing out, like major FOMO? But then don't say no forever, just say no for now, and save it for when it comes time to do your strategy next year. Then you can consider if that fits in your strategy for the year. And it makes them feel a little bit better that they're like, okay, I'm not saying no forever. I'm just going to write it down on a Post-it note, and I'm going to keep it in the pile for like next year ideas and see if it works out. If it's a really, really awesome opportunity, then the strategy will be able to fit and flex and incorporate it in, but it has to be an opportunity that doesn't cost you any more money that you haven't already planned on spending. Right? So like there's some guidelines, and it just helps people so much just be able to like make a decision, which I find most of the time my clients, they're just so overwhelmed that they can't even figure out what they want for lunch. Or they skip.
How are they still alive? Like, how did they make it this far? Makes you wonder sometimes, right? Doesn't it make you almost feel like it's like if you set out this strategy, that it's almost like you give them the permission to make this commitment? You know, like a lot of the times, because that's kind of what it comes off as, right? Really.
Yeah, it's funny. I've some great stories. I think Beth Woodward was here.
Yep. Episode 2.
Yeah.
Rewatch it.
She was awesome. Yes, definitely rewatch Beth's episode too. She's amazing. She's just such a fireball, and she's got so many things going on. When she decided to sign up for the Bliss workshop in December, I was like, this is going to be interesting, because she has so many things going on, and she's doing really well. Her business is going really strong, and I had in my head, you know, I feel like she needs to really streamline or make sure that everything she is putting her effort into is having a return for her.
She praised you so highly on the show too. I think honestly it's because she's kind of had that upbringing too, where she had very competitive parents and siblings, and then that sort of played into everything else. And then you know, with your strategy, I'm sure like it helped her, you know, to propel her like even further, right? Because I know she was nominated for some awards too for all the marketing. Yeah, that's I mean that in itself is incredible, right? So that right there is proof that, you know, she's definitely hustling, right?
She's doing such a great job. And honestly, for her, it's funny, like I've got clients that are on different spectrums. Like for her, it was like, you need to incorporate your life more, because entrepreneurs forget about their lives, and we're all driven by this lifestyle we want to create, more so than the average bear, because if we weren't driven so much by a lifestyle that we were trying to create, or this better life for ourselves, we'd be working for somebody else, super happy, getting a steady paycheck, and being able to take our 4 weeks vacation. Like, like really, entrepreneurs are kind of crazy for giving all that up and chasing this image or this thought of this better life. So every entrepreneur says, "Oh yeah, I had a strategy, but life got in the way." I'm like, well, of course life got in the way, because that is your biggest motivating factor. Yeah. But for entrepreneurs, life doesn't get in the way. Life is the way. And as soon as you friggin' figure that out, that life is the way, and you incorporate that into your business strategy, then all of a sudden the magic starts to happen, because then you can go away for the weekend. You can have an amazing time. You can be inspired by life, by your kids, by your family, by everything. And then you bring that inspiration back into work, and you work your tail off so that you can go and do that more. And so you can have the life. And that's what people follow. That's why all of us have big dreams of being these uber successful entrepreneurs, is because we saw some other entrepreneur's lifestyle, and we're like, we want that. I don't want the gold watch. I want the gold boat. Like, I'll take that, thanks very much. And we're willing to work hard for it. But without having the balance of the life part to inspire you and keep you going, when you reach the goal, when you reach your target big number or whatever you're chasing, like who are you gonna high five? Like what are you gonna do about that? Then you get there and you're like, oh,
you've probably isolated yourself so much that to the point where we can't really even do that, for sure.
I guess I'll just answer this next email. And there's like no party. I'm all about the party. Actually, part of the Bliss program is we write a party. So I have everybody plan a party for a year from then, and who are you going to invite, and it's actually part of the like identifying your key audience, is like who would you want to party with and celebrate the success with, and like plan the whole party, the music, the location, what are we going to do, what's the food going to be like, and that also helps them figure out, oh, that's how I talk to my key audience. Now I get my messaging. Okay.
We're actually throwing a party. We talked to one of our guests. He's gonna do a rooftop party.
Nice.
He's a DJ, so yeah.
Fun.
So a year from now, we'd like you to come back. But I think it'd be actually awesome if we brought all the guests back onto the show. I think we should.
Like a huge sort of networking.
Just give us an awesome idea. Thank you.
Perfect. Yep. Do it up.
Going back to what you were saying, it's funny because it's almost like you cut yourself off from, maybe in your mind enjoying all these things. And then like when you get to that point, it's like, even when you achieve those things, it's just like, where do I go from there? Because a lot of the times, like material things, they don't really mean much, right? So it's almost like you have to kind of condition yourself to kind of enjoy the process of you actually achieving something, right? But I think that it goes back again to what you're doing is creating sort of like a long-term strategy, but beyond just those extended goals, but more of like what are you trying to achieve with your life too? Like where are you trying to go? Like, and I think a lot of the times, a lot of the business people, they start to realize that they sort of need to start giving back to the community and or helping others in the area where they think that they can help, right? So I think that a lot of the times they come to that realization, and that's why you have so many people that are rich that do all kinds of nice things, like build forests or plant trees or stuff like that. Yeah, because they can, right? But like I remember hearing, I think a couple of years ago, somebody like Jack Ma, the guy of that established Alibaba, he bought like a whole bunch of different land from the government just to have it as a preserve, just so nobody could really touch it. And I mean, I think he's done it in a couple of countries now, but I mean, it's a really, I think, an awesome idea, a really cool thing to do. I think that we're all here. I mean, there's more and more of us, right? I think the whole perception of us being, having this scarcity is kind of misleading to some extent, because there's a lot of land on this planet that's not really discovered.
Yeah, we just have to figure out how to live there.
But I think that's, we definitely have to become a lot more resourceful nowadays in order for us to succeed. It's not back 100 years ago where you could have an idea and because it was unique and great and resonated with a lot of other people, you could be successful, right? So you have to utilize the tools that such as the ones that you provide, or whether it be utilizing some social media marketing, or getting somebody else to do that stuff for you, right? So
community is such a massive thing. I mean, when Beth was in the program, all she needed was, back to what you were saying about permission, she just needed permission to do more, and not to actually physically do more, but to charge what she was worth, and to go after bigger clients, and that she was ready to take on those clients. And as soon as she decided it, literally the next day she came in to the last day of the workshop, and she's like, guys, I just got an email from a client that approached me a year ago and asked me to requote, and I requoted with my new rates, and he didn't even bat an eyelash. He was like, yep, okay. And then she had another one of those and another one of those.
Amazing.
And she was saying, like, I didn't think anyone was going to buy any, like, I didn't think anyone was going to go for these new rates. I thought I'd have major backlash. She's like, actually, I got more business and nobody bats an eyelash on my invoices.
That's
I
awesome.
send them, they pay them, it's amazing. And I'm like, now you're talking to the right people. And you have a vision. And now she's hiring people on full time. Like, it's amazing. And
It
before,
truly
she's
is.
like, wait, I can hire people? And,
Beth,
and
good job.
And the idea of like scaling up and her not doing all the work and all the things, she was like, holy crow. Because she is building this amazing community of small business owners. It's called the Small Business Owners of Southern Ontario Facebook
Yeah,
group.
we've talked about that. That's right. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's so great. And everybody's like helping each other out. And there's often like posts in there. They're like, hey, who are you partnering with? Who would you want to partner with to do something epic? She really inspires collaboration. And that is the really exciting thing about business now versus when I started a million years ago. That you can collaborate with people that are in the same space that maybe are talking to the same audience but offering a different product or service, and you can easily collaborate and have really a lot of success by doing that, just by sharing each other's platform. It's so great, and I rely a lot on the people that have been through the Bliss program as my clients, but I lean back on them. I'm like, if I'm going to do a workshop, I'm going to go to Jessica Law Photography. She's cool beans, and she's got this amazing studio, and it's like the most beautiful space, and you can just have a great workshop in there. And she's one of my clients, and so of course I'm going to pick her because that's what I'm going to do.
Of course.
And Beth is always there, and I'm going to promote and do anything she asks me to do ever in her group. But that's because she promotes me and tells everybody how much she loves the program that she went through. Like, so it's so much more fun to like be part of this community of other amazing entrepreneurs and to support them, even though I'm an entrepreneur and even though I'm all by myself and even though my business is just me. It doesn't feel like that. And so when I reach my goals, I can turn around and high five every single one of those people, even though they're not part of my business. They're not actually on a payroll, but they are definitely part of the tribe that got me there. And that makes it way more fun to succeed. And that, for me, is what success is about. Sure, it's great to be able to afford all the things, but to be able to have that tribe of people to have a celebration dinner with, or like even just a high five and like
Exactly. I was gonna go back to what you said, right?
Yeah.
Have those people back at your party, or have them,
Exactly.
go back and high five those exact people.
Exactly. And giving back, I mean, you don't have to wait to be super successful to be philanthropic. I mean, look at all of the social impact businesses that are out there right now. They actually have a hardish time getting investors to support them because, like, oh, I'm sorry, what are you going to do with the profits? Are you going to give them away, are you? Perfect, yeah. No. I'm not, as an investor, I'm not going to, like, that's
Well, it's
not
going back to, every business is in business to make money, right? So it's technically,
right, and like the social impact businesses are great. They are for profit technically, and they have a really great mandate of giving back and serving their community and local or global communities, whatever it is. And those guys are amazing, and they've started with that intent. They started their business with the intent to share or to bring awareness to a cause or something like that, and those are really, really great. So I always tell people, I'm like, you don't have to wait until you're a millionaire, billionaire to start giving back. You can do that anytime. You can do that right at the beginning, and it doesn't have to be money. It can be awareness, which is something that a lot of causes need desperately. They don't, it's not in their mandate to do marketing, so they can't use their fundraising dollars toward marketing, which is unfortunate, but they can rely on other partners to do their marketing for them and start promoting for them. So that's like an amazing way for people to give back as they're building, and it's like good karma along the way.
collaboration, I think, is always
great.
one of those great things, because if you have, all this synced energy it's sort of headed one way, it really usually gets a lot more of a result done, right, too. So that in itself is usually a really good thing. So so track back, let's go back a little bit back to the services that you provide. Maybe talk a little bit more about that, and what is it that is entailed in certain programs. Because I know I was watching your story, I think last week, and you were talking about the beta program, right? That you're about to launch. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that as well.
So the Bliss program that I've been doing, that Beth went through, and that all these other amazing entrepreneurs have gone through live, and I've been running that program for a while now in workshop format. I have now spent 6 months putting it online, putting all the content online, and shooting sort of my tutorial and how-to videos kind of separately, and it's all humbling to like have all these videos of your face out there, and you're like, oh man. Anyway, the content is amazing. We've just run through a couple of pre-beta groups, just because I wanted to make sure that the content was still having all the same aha moments and the same like amazing transformations of these businesses, and it worked. Yay!
Amazing.
So yeah, really excited. So now we're going to go into beta mode in May, and then we'll do full release once we get like 50 to 100 people through the beta program. We'll move into the full release. So the beta program will have, it'll be on the final platform with all the bells and whistles, and we'll continually update and improve the content as we have to, just to make sure people get their questions answered as they're going through the content. But really, that program, the Bliss program, takes people from that super overwhelmed, frenzied state to like zen and focused and confident and profitable. That's profitable.
We all need that for sure, though.
Yeah, it's such a great program. It really steps people through the process of building a strategy and thinking strategically, which is two different things. But by the end of the process, they are able to think strategically about their business, and they start to act more like a CEO instead of an employee. So many people are employees their whole lives and they decide to be an entrepreneur, but they're still doing employee stuff. They're working hours, they're tapping out, and they're frustrated because there's no paycheck at the end of the day, right? So, but that's how their brain is still working, and you can't do that. And once they have a strategy in front of them that they've built, boy, is it easier for them to see themselves as a CEO and make decisions. Like, I'm not going to spend 10 hours doing that because it doesn't line up and it's a waste of my time, so I'd rather go and read books to my kids. Like, I'd rather go do life and have fun if I can. Right? And that's just that's what we are all aiming for. Profit and life. That's
I think it's important to take small moments to enjoy things and to do spend it with your family for sure. But it's almost like finding that balance where it allows you to do really two things, right? Because if those are your goals, if that's what you're trying to achieve, that's what you should be striving for, right? So
so I have that online program. I also have I do some consulting work with larger companies where I'll go in and spend a day just workshopping an issue. So if they're trying to figure out their pricing model around this new product launch, then a bunch of different people are at odds on the conversation, then I'll sort of help them figure that out. Or I'll go in and write a whole consumer path for them so that they can see from the weeds. Because sometimes, you guys know, you're building an app. You get into the weeds and the nitty gritty, and then you try to write the marketing content for that app, and you've lost your way. You end up talking about the tech, and like, people don't care about the tech. I'm sorry, but they want to make sure it works, but they don't care why it works.
So true.
And so it's hard to pull yourself out of that and just see the opportunity, see the product for what it is, get a good handle on the audience. And so I go in and I'm kind of the relationship business brand doctor in those moments, because there's like 3 different owners and they're all fighting about what this thing should be after they've just spent 3 years building it, and there's like not a lot of great energy, and so I just like smooth. Everyone's actually saying the same thing. Let's make some money with this product, and here's the path. So it just sort of helped to clear the way. And it doesn't matter how long you've been in business. Sometimes you actually just need somebody else to come in and go, okay, show me the way, because I've lost it.
I think it's really just the healthiest thing sometimes to do is, especially if you have multiple owners too, and to bring somebody in who's had the experience and the prior the knowledge of how to bring up those brands, but also give them sort of a perception from the outside, right? Because I think a lot of the times a lot of the owners they get stuck in this sort of like tunnel vision, where they only see one thing, and then like even going back to the app, right? Let's say if you start talking about tech, and it could be something so simple and something so comprehensible to you, but at the same time it could be something that somebody is just like, oh, I don't know what he's talking about, like I haven't got a clue, right?
Do I need to understand what you said to use this app?
Like, am I smart enough to use this app? Like what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
So
that goes in hand with like a lot of the times when business owners struggle to think of content to create, because they oftentimes think of putting out content that's interesting to them, but that's not necessarily always interesting to their audience and consumers. So
no, for sure, that's going back to having presence on social media. How important do you think that is nowadays? Like, because I know I understand with the example you used before, that sometimes it's better just to go out and sell stuff, right, and maybe outsource some of these things to other people. But how important do you think it is to have that presence now?
So I don't think you can do anything without social. In some degree, you don't need all the platforms. You need to really understand which platform is going to drive your business and build a strategy for it and follow it. If you're going to be on LinkedIn, you need to be on LinkedIn every day, and you need to engage, and you need to submit stories, and you need to like have opinions, and you got to join forums, and you have to be there. You can't just throw an ad up on LinkedIn and disappear. Like, you have to actually be there. And for the LinkedIn profile, I think it needs to be the business owner, because it's more of a professional platform. For Facebook and Instagram, I think you can outsource that easy enough. Twitter, same. But I still think that the people need to be engaging with real humans. And I think that even though the scheduled posts are done by somebody else, the business owner needs to be engaging day in the life of stuff, doing stories, doing stuff just to show that there's a human behind this logo that keeps popping up, right?
Yeah, I agree with you to a big extent as well, because I think that really the only person that really knows your business more than anybody else is just you. Like, I mean, you can outsource a lot of your social, but even when they try to engage with these people that are trying to communicate with you, a lot of the times they don't really know a lot of the things, right? So I think that's you sort of just documenting your process throughout your day is probably the easiest way to create content. And I think that's what a lot of people are just kind of struggling with is kind of how to create that kind of thing, right? So it doesn't have to. I think that honestly, the one realization that I've come to is, like, working with social media, is that a lot of the times people will go online, they'll purposely check you out, right? They'll see who you are, what it is that you do. And if you give off a perception that you actually are doing your job and you're doing it really well and you're actually documenting it along the way, they're like, wow, like, why wouldn't I, like, be receptive to this person? And if you go on there and, like, you posted in 2014 on your Facebook profile, and you just have this check mark that just says, oh, I have a Facebook link, or like if you go on somebody's website and they still have like Google Plus, and you're like, it was discontinued on April 2nd. Like, why you still have that on there? Or like if they have like copyright 2011, it's like, right. So it's like sometimes it's great to have that, feedback from somebody who comes from the outside and kind of gives you that, because a lot of the times we're blind to these kind of things. We don't even notice these kind of things, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, social's great, and it's amazing to build your community and to attract new people to you, but it's not the only thing.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
You can attract people with it, but then you need to nurture them and keep them with you. And then, like, where's the funnel? Why are you engaging with them? Are you just trying to make more friends? Because that's cool. If you need more friends, then have at it. But don't expect your friends to buy your product. Friends don't do that.
Exactly.
Friends want to know all about it, and they want you to give it to them for free.
Oh, for sure.
Friends don't want to pay for the stuff. Because they have to sit there and listen to you whine about the making of it. Like, friends have earned their free thing. So if you're online with your business and you're just there making friends, and you're not actually saying, hey, I do really great work and I would like to do this work with you, or I do really great work and I make this thing and I would love for you to buy it from me, then, I mean, obviously not that way. Say it a little nicer.
Buy it now.
But if there isn't like a call to action of something, and I'm not saying that every single post
No, of course.
needs to be
No, it doesn't.
tagged with like something, but it needs to feel like it's in line. It needs to feel like when people read my post, they know that they're going to either get a big smackdown truth bomb, like get the hell out of your own way already. It's usually the truth bomb that I lay out there for people. I'm like, yeah, no, you're the one in your own way. It's not the algorithm. It's you. Stop blaming the algorithm.
Stop blaming the algorithm.
It's your message. It sucks. Fix it. Like, I don't know. So people know what they're going to get.
We're gonna have you say that for a little segment for our Instagram.
It's not the algorithm.
It's not the algorithm. You need to get out of the way.
Yeah, get out of your own way. It's funny because I have had clients come back to me and be like, okay, so I now hear it ringing in my ear. I hear your voice in my head saying, just get out of your own way. Just do it. Oh, sorry. Yeah. But it's true. I mean, people know what they're going to get when they read my posts. And they know that they're going to get little miniature bits and snippets from what it would be like to be part of my Bliss program or be a coaching client. And so a lot of people go through the Bliss program, they build their strategy, and then they become like monthly ongoing strategy clients of mine, and I keep them on task. So I'll keep them focused on their strategy, I'll keep them like in line, and they do that because they want more of the nuggets of what they get. And so they could just go back and read all my posts and probably get all the things that I tell them in our monthly meetings. Guys, just don't, I'm kidding.
Don't go back to all the posts from the last 5 years.
Well, yeah, no, we're going to get cancellations now. No.
Knock on wood. No, I'm just joking. No.
I would get more engagement on my socials, so that's cool.
I think it's great to always provide those little nuggets because that's what really captivates a lot of the people, and that's what really wants them to be a part of you, interact with you. And then I think going back to interaction, social is just another way for you to communicate your message really about your business. I think that you're absolutely right to say that, don't forget to actually go out and like call people and talk to them and like do other stuff, because just doing social alone is not going to get you the business, right?
No,
So
you've got to like you need to go out and actually have conversations and have like. I try not to do so many coffee meetings now because I get, can I take you for coffee and pick your brain? And I'm like, well, I love coffee, I do, but I don't need that much of it. So I actually do a Monday morning call, a Zoom call. So you can sign up and it's free and you get my brain until my coffee's cold. That's the deal. So as soon as my coffee's empty, I'm like, hey guys, coffee's done, and we're done. And it's every Monday morning.
I love it.
Yeah, and everybody shows up, and if they've got a question or they're struggling with something, then they'll ask, and I'll answer.
How would they go about getting in touch with you to do that?
So if you go onto my Instagram, so at Hijinks Strategies, in the links there's a Mojo meeting or Mojo Monday meeting. Anyway, there's one of the links is for Mojo Mondays, and just click on that, and then it'll give you an email.
Fantastic.
With a Zoom link, and you just show up.
Excellent.
Come and hang out with us, and it's super fun. It's like there's some usual suspects that come, and they're amazing in all different walks of life, like an online magazine, Active Parent. She's amazing and super feisty and awesome, and hilarious. And like everything from to Zen yoga people and to like it's just it's so awesome. It's so fun to have them like start the week with. But we all kind of claim a goal for the week, and then we'll needle each other in the group throughout the week to like, hey, how's that going?
It's great. It's great that you have that motivator, right?
Yeah, that's actually I was gonna say, just based on what you said, like it's a great way to keep yourself in check, because just it's human nature that people want to look good in front of others. So if you like tell people about goals that you have in mind, it's like you're gonna work extra hard to follow them, to back up your words so that you can prove to them that you were serious, right?
It's almost like having like a responsibility partner.
Oh my gosh,
right?
Because as entrepreneurs, we work by ourselves. Man, I can justify. I can justify missing a deadline when I'm the one that I'm deadlining for. Like, oh well, I was on social media. That's important because that's where my clients come from. No, I mean they do. Actually, a lot of my clients do come from social media, but. That somebody told them, and they went to my Instagram and they read my post and they were like, yeah, I need some of that.
That's one of the questions we actually ask a lot of our guests is, what's the breakdown of your business that you get from online and from like regular contact? What would you say the breakdown is for you?
Interesting. So
Have you ever measured that?
of course.
Okay.
So social media has never closed the deal for me. Oh, not true. Actually, with the advent of this online program, that's changing that dynamic a little bit, because people just see the post.
Well, because you're creating
is there.
you're creating
So-
the actual content for it to be online, right? So
yeah,
it
and
makes
like
sense.
all of the words are there.
course.
All
Yeah.
the stuff is there. So that's happened a little bit, but not a ton. Like twice yesterday. That was the first time yesterday that I was like, oh, somebody just signed on for that program, and I have never even seen them.
I saw somebody was actually
Before.
reposting your story, I think, and then you reposted that too. That
Probably,
that people were
yeah.
interested in your course, so that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It's super fun. I mean, it's a great course. So once people start to go through it, and they'll be.
We'll make a
happy
little
as heck.
post on our Instagram just promoting your stuff too, for
Yeah,
sure.
well,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
Anyway, so it's so I get some people. Well, all of them find out about me through social, or through people that have gone through the program. So word of mouth. They'll all, no matter how they find out about me, will check out my social, find out a little bit, and then either DM me directly or go to my website and follow. But they'll usually contact me because it's a bigger investment. The live one-on-one is $2,300. So it's a big investment. So people don't just do that without actually making a phone call and having a conversation. So for those ones, there's like a discovery call usually that happens. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's like, oh, I heard about you from 6 other people, so I just figured it was a good deal. And they'll work.
So in a way, you could say that a lot of it comes from online, really.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done any advertising yet. Once we launch in full release mode,
I was gonna say
We'll
probably
do
with the course,
advertising
you
for
probably
that.
want to do that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
so that is part of the strategy. Once we just get through beta, then we'll throw the ad
Get that funnel
campaign.
going.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, but yeah, the credibility and getting the message out there is definitely social. Having the social assets and having the stories just makes it easier for people to spread the word for me. So whenever I do something goofy, which is a lot, especially on social, then there's a lot of people that are resharing my stories at that point because it's just like a good snapshot of what they're going to get. And I use social media because I really am not everybody's coach. Like, I just am not the right flavor for everyone. Some people really want a coach that's going to just like be more of a cheerleader and tell them what they want to hear. And I'm like, no, you pay me too much for that. You've got friends and family to tell you what you want to hear.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I will be a cheerleader, but I will kick your butt too. Because that's what you've hired me to do. You want to be successful, so I'm going to get you there and get you out of your way. But that isn't, like, not a lot of people like to have the Band-Aid ripped off.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah?
But
I want them to know before they sign a deal or before they commit to a year long of monthly strategy sessions or whatever, that they know what they're getting into. And they know I'm not going to let them off the hook. And know I'm not going to let you quit because it's uncomfortable. Well, guess what? Everything that you're looking for out of life is outside of your comfort zone.
Yep, for sure.
So I'm going to make
Absolutely.
sure that you are uncomfortable and you stay there and you realize that being uncomfortable or scared is just your critter brain telling you you've never been here before, which is the point.
Exactly.
The point is that you don't go back to where you've already been, that you go forward to places you've never been. And yeah, it's scary and it's uncomfortable, but you'll grow into those shoes. You'll wear them in. They'll be cozy soon, and then guess what? You're going to buy new shoes again.
Yeah.
And they're going to be uncomfortable again. But
You'll have to break them in again. Yeah.
And they're going to be that much more expensive, and they're just going to be awesome.
They'll be gold plated too.
Right? But you might have to learn how to walk in them a little. But then, oh my gosh, they're going to be the coziest shoes you've ever worn, and then you're going to want different shoes again. And so it's just about growing into them and giving it time to feel comfortable and to be normal. And that's what that sort of ongoing coaching does. It's like, don't worry, it's okay. I know this is all weird. I had a client who's a photographer, and she's a brilliant photographer. She's just branding shots, and she, like, for businesses. Jessica, well, giving her the plug.
Just plug her, yeah.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. But she was very, very scared of charging what she should be charging, and I was like bossy. It's really bossy. I'm like, this is what you charge. I just got this email and I'm afraid of saying it. I'm like, well, do you want me to type it for you? No, good, you do it. And she did it, and I was so proud of her just for sending the email at the right price. And it's not even like the most expensive photographer you've ever met. It's actually just it's a great, but it was a whole day rate, and this person was asking for 4 days of Jess's work. And I'm like, you're gonna need an assistant. You're gonna need to, like, there's some stuff you gotta build in here. Yeah, you need to charge for that. And she was like, okay, she was panicky about it, and she did it. She's like, I got that job. I'm like, of course you got the job.
Yeah.
She's like, oh my gosh, I feel weird getting that much money. I'm like, it'll grow on you. Don't worry. You'll get used to it. It's okay. And now she's like, yeah, I have no problem telling people now that is my day rate. I'm like,
I think it's important to value yourself and
it was
the work that you do.
That was a month ago. She was scared, and now she has no problem saying that that's her day rate.
Yeah.
Because she got used to it. She's like, oh, it worked. So that's what I'm worth. Cool.
Right there.
Yep.
Just like what you were saying, right? That get over that little hump that, that's telling you I'm uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, and I think actually that is my job. I just push people over speed bumps. I'm like, nope, that's just you in your way.
Yeah.
I always ask, is that fact or feeling? People follow these truths in their lives. Oh, I can't do that. I'm big boned. Everybody in my family is big. Nope. Probably just need to go to the gym. That's okay. Cool. Wait, is that fact or like? I think bones are all the same size. Okay, generally, like what? I don't understand. But people live with these truths all the time, and they don't really know why they know that information. It's just information that's in there. They might have heard it on like a TV show or commercial, and it somehow got stuck in there. It's been ruling every decision that they've been making, and it has no business being there at all. Like whatever it is, I can't afford to be successful. Can't afford. Well, who told you that? Well, nobody told me that. Well, why do you know that? With like such conviction, you know that. Well, I don't know why I know that. Okay, so then so can we just eliminate it? Because if you don't know where it came from, so we're not really offending anybody by taking that truth out of the way. Can we just move on without it and see where we end up? Yeah, sure, yeah. Oh. And then another one will come up, I'm like, okay, so where did that come from? Is that what the guy said that? Did you say that? Did you tell yourself? Who tells you? Who tells you that you can't be successful? Well, nobody tells me that. So why can't you?
I think it's the self-doubt that creeps in. It's the fact that we are just bombarded with so much information. It's inspiring a lot of the times, and a lot of the times I think plants the seeds of doubts in our mind too. And I think that it's to some extent maybe I think it's healthy to question things, but maybe to some extent it's not really healthy to put yourself down and tell yourself that you can't be successful.
Yeah, it's just you really have to check yourself on the truths that you follow in life. Whether they're about yourself or about business, a lot of people actually have this idea that becoming rich makes you a bad person. That you become selfish and you become, egotistical and arrogant and those kinds of things. And so because they have that belief, they self-sabotage as soon as they start to make any kind of money.
That's why I was going back to what I was saying.
It's scary.
It's almost like they're afraid to become successful, right?
There's a lot of fear because it's new. Nobody in their family has ever been that successful. Well, do you know what? I don't care.
You could be the first.
Like so nobody ever made the light bulb before, and then it happened. Now everybody's doing it. Like that doesn't matter what's been done before. Well, all that matters is what you're going to do now, because you're here and you have all the experiences that you've had. Oh, well, I failed so many times. Perfect. Like I am like the queen of failing. It's fine as long as you are trying and learning, and you fail differently every time. You're good. You're cool. It's good.
Well, I think it's also important to learn from it a little bit too,
yeah.
because if you don't, it's just gonna keep repeating itself, right?
God,
So
There's really
you're gonna fall down again. But like you can't be so afraid of stuff. What is the worst possible thing that could happen?
Exactly. Yeah.
honestly, what is the worst possible thing that could happen?
People are gonna judge me.
Like,
No.
I don't
Like,
know.
oh, so what?
People are gonna judge you. They're judging you anyway, sweetheart. Like
Tomorrow they won't even remember because they're gonna go judge somebody else.
Yeah.
right? And why are they judging everybody? Because it's
It's internal.
They're,
yeah, of course.
They're reflecting on themselves. They're not doing anything other than judging. At least you're trying to do something.
Yeah.
Forget about them. Like it doesn't matter. When the person that you idolize the most and that you're striving to become or whatever, when they turn around and they look at you, they're gonna be like, yeah, you got this.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna cheer you on. They're not judging you. They're gonna be like, yep, you're almost here.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. Why do you care about the people you're trying to leave behind? And if you don't want to leave them behind and you want to drag them with you, peace out. That's like a lot of work. But it's better for you to get there and show them it's possible, so then they can start to believe that it is possible to succeed, and then they'll try and they'll fail, and you'll tell them you're that much closer. Keep going, and they'll try again, and they'll fail again, and you'll tell them they're that much closer, and then they'll try, and then they'll make it, and then they'll turn around and go, you can do it too. And that's why all these gurus are on stages all over the world going like, if I can do it, you can do it. You actually can. They're not making, that's not just, it sounds so cheesy now because everyone is saying it, but it's true. You just need to do it. You just need to step forward again, and then again.
There's
again.
There's a great quote from Elon Musk that we actually posted to our story a couple days ago, and it's if you're not failing, you're not innovating enough, which is really true because I mean, failing is just a part of being in business and in life in general. So
you just have to try. I mean, I always tell my clients to be a scientist. We spend the first day dreaming and creating this vision that is so clear that they can taste it and smell it and hear it. They know exactly what success is going to feel like, never mind the matrix or anything else. Then we put it aside and we're like, okay, now we're going to get our lab coats on and we're going to be a freaking scientist until we get there. Because you can't beat yourself up every time something doesn't quite work out. You have to just run an experiment. You have a hypothesis, you think this result's going to happen, you run these tests, and then you have a conclusion, and you're like, did it work? Did it not work? It didn't work. Let's tweak it. What do we tweak? We're going to change this. Now do it again. And if you have a strategy, it's easy peasy to see what piece didn't work and what did work, and then you change it, and then you keep going. And it's just an experiment. It's just the results. It's just a hypothesis. We think this is what we want. Oh, turns out we don't actually want that. We want this over here, so we'll just shift a little bit. It makes life so much easier, and there's none of this like beating yourself up about, oh, I tried that campaign and it didn't work. Cool. So don't do it again? Great, move on. Like that's about as long as you need to really dwell on that. It didn't work. Why didn't it work? Well, I think I targeted the wrong audience. Great. Do you want to try that thing again to a different audience, or do you want to try a different thing to the same audience? Well, that's the audience I want, so we'll try a different thing. Perfect. Done. Like learned, resolved, new hypothesis, new result, or new experiment put in place, now go. Takes 5 minutes. No need for like weeks of laboring on something that didn't work out. Like,
can you give us an example of, like, from your past experience, maybe that where you failed and you were actually able to learn something, you recover from that and actually move forward with something that was actually useful to you?
Well, sure. So I started a business, and it was doing really well. It was a massive investment suck. So it like cost me a ton of money to start it, and it was doing well. I had a wait list of clients I couldn't get to because I had run out of money and didn't have the infrastructure to scale properly, and realized that I actually hated running this business.
No way. Wow.
I was the worst.
That's such a big blow. Must have felt like that at least.
Oh, it was so disheartening. I mean, it was heartbreaking because I had a wait list and I had to close the business. Like, you don't do that with a wait list of customers, right? But then I was like, this is actually killing me, running this business. I was up at 4 a.m. It was an amazing idea, and maybe it'll have new life someday, but man, I'm not going to be the one that's getting up at 4 a.m. and slugging stuff around. I didn't love it. I didn't love the day-to-day of running the business. It was a fantastic idea that had a huge market. Like the business marketing person in me was like, this is an amazing business. But then the fact that I had to actually do it was like, oh, damn. That was the worst part of it. But, and it sucked because it cost so much money to do it. But at the end of the day, I realized this isn't for me. This isn't the business for me. I learned so much. I learned about investment. I learned about crowdsourcing. You know, I got on a bunch of stages because it was, you know, I got onto an equity crowdfunding platform and was one of the first companies in Ontario to get equity crowdfunding. And so there was all these things, like all these really great things that came out of it. But I like legit hated running the business. So that was a big learning. But since then, the looking back and learning of it is it's okay. It's totally fine to actually get to a point in your business and be like, I gotta call it. I'm calling it because I'm out. I don't like it. You don't have to put yourself through hell for another 10 years just because you've invested all this stuff. I think if I had gotten the rest of the investment, I probably would have continued it and then sold it and done something with it. But so many lessons out of that, like get all of your investment money that you need before you actually launch. I got a little bit, enough to launch, and launched, and then was too busy to actually get the rest of the investment money. And then like did this whole thing.
Brutal.
Yeah. But the marketing stuff I had down pat, all of the things I had down pat, but then I fell into that trap of like, yay, I got a carrot. I'm going to go get another one, right? Instead of waiting until I had the whole bunch and then launching properly the way that the strategy had planned. I was like, well, if I have this, I can just get to this point and then I'll get the rest of the investment. Well, I got to this point and all of a sudden it was busy and it was more successful than I thought, but I didn't have time for getting the investment.
It must have taught you a lot about the strategy and how to, you know,
well,
how to
strategy, Jillian. Yeah. But that is where my big business strategy and the agency strategy building experience that I had for 20 years, I applied it to this business and then realized the small business mindset, the small business owner mindset of like, get all the things, do all the things, do all the things, get it now. Like the money's sitting in the bank. You can't just sit in the bank. Like craziness in here. Nuts. So I totally get it now when I work with my customers and they're like, I got a little bit of investment. I got this credit line. What am I going to do with the credit line? Like, you are not going to touch the credit line. You leave that. Take the credit when you can get it. And because when you need it, they're not going to give it to you. But don't touch it. You don't need it to run your business. Anyway, but there's like so many lessons in that. And I've applied them all now to Bliss. Every single lesson I've learned in my life, all the branding, all the business growth, and the success and the failures of all of my entrepreneurial endeavors, everything, like, I have incorporated it all into Bliss. And I love every time I get to deliver that lesson of like, wait for it, you're not quite there yet. Like, just finish the play, finish this strategy, get all the investment first, get all the resources that you need first, you know, follow the strategy the way that you've written it. When I get to actually work with entrepreneurs that are working with me on a monthly basis, and I, you know, pushing them forward and holding them back at the same time, it's really great once the pieces start to fall in place. I almost feel like it's that part of my business that didn't work out, right? Every time they get success, I'm like, yes, I went through that failure for their success, and it feels like a big win. So every time somebody like...
So there's much more to this program than just, you know, just coaching you and guiding you in a certain way. It's like an overall like program that's, you know, all of your combined experience that you've had put together, that's, you know, going back to something like you mentioned, like branding, right? So maybe speak about that, because you've obviously have had a lot of experience in the industry itself. I mean, the landscape has changed so much, and like, how does one try to, you know, stand out, you know, amongst the crowd of so many other competitors, right?
Yeah, and it's really just knowing who you're talking to, and not going after all the people that will pay. You know, you're only going to attract one certain people. Like, I don't specifically say that I only work with women. I seem to only be attracting women entrepreneurs. I'll work with anybody, wrong with that, yeah. But I seem to be attracting women, and that's fine. Maybe it's the tone in my messaging, maybe it's the posts, maybe it's because I'm a woman. Who knows? Don't really know, but that's okay, and I'm embracing it now. So a lot of my Bliss posts are geared to women or mompreneurs or people that are side hustling because they've got everything else going on. And so that sort of branding and that really focus work on developing your niche and developing your brand and being okay with just marketing to this tiny little niche, because then you can really develop a stronghold in that niche. And once you've got that going on and it's kind of on lock, 1 year, 2 years down the road, then you can branch out to a different niche and on repeat what you did the first 2 years.
Yeah.
But you need to get a stronghold so that more about your day-to-day is predictable. When you know your audience so well that you could go out into the world without technology and find 5 people that are exactly your target audience just by looking in a crowd, or you know exactly where to go to find the crowd, where they are in real life, like that's when you know your audience. And that's when you can leverage the power of the strategy, is when you know exactly who you're delivering the strategy to. And so we spend a lot of time really identifying sort of key audience, your product, what problem does your product solve, the messaging that you're going to reach out to the audience with, what's the result that you want to get at the end of everything, costing, pricing, everything from your product development, research delivery, strategy, to the sales platforms, to your audience creation, curation, strategies, and then to the revenue strategy. So when you've got the money, what are you going to do with it at that point? After you've paid yourself, after everything else, and you've got profit, then what? Like, how are you going to honor the journey that money's been through to get to here? Are you going to reinvest it? And what is the growth path for your revenue? Are you investing? Are you investing back in your business? Are you investing in technology and people? How is that going to create more growth and create more revenue and profit? And so the program does the whole thing. It's way beyond building a business plan. It's a business plan and go-to-market strategy and revenue strategy, plus we incorporate your life into it. Like, it's a lot of stuff. It's a huge, huge program. It took 5 days for me to deliver it live to people. And so the online program, everyone has access to all the content at the beginning, and you go through it as you will. We've got some keeners going through it in like 3 days, and some that are taking almost a month now. So
that's incredible. Well,
yeah, people just take it. They'll
seems like there's just so much knowledge in that, right? So I mean,
it is. It's the signature product that everybody kind of builds up to. All of the online program people are like, don't start with your signature product. Go with the littler things. I'm like, but that just feels like I'm ripping people off. If I go with all the little chunks, I leave them hanging.
Yeah.
And then I have to go back and sell to them again because I know they're going to need this whole thing. And so I'm like, I'm just going to go out there and with this product because this is actually what you need. And then they can go, and once they realize that Facebook ads is part of their strategy, then they can actually go out and take a course in that if they want to do it themselves, or then they can outsource it. But outsourcing becomes so much easier because imagine a client comes to you to do social and says, okay guys, I need to do social media. Here is my target market. Here's the problem we solve. Here's all my messaging, key points. Here is the results that we need. Here's the call to action that you can roll with. And we're trying to get 600,000 people on our website this year, and that's your target goal. And oh, by the way, because I have all of this organized, I really expect you to hit all these key milestones. Like, okay, sure. Let me just start scheduling that for you. Like, easy peasy, super done. You're going to be way more efficient. You're going to be able to guarantee, at least to an extent, the results that they're going to get. You know exactly where you stand. You know all of the things. And so you're going to be able to get them results because you know what they're looking for. And the way that all of the pieces of the Bliss program are set out and how they kind of fill out the workbook, at the end they're able to take like a page of the workbook and go, oh, I see how I would just hand that page right over to somebody if I was going to outsource that project. Here you go, you can do my sales platform. All the information is there. It's done. And so it becomes so much more easy or for them to bring in a team to do certain elements because they have a strategy. Everybody knows. Everyone's on board. You know exactly what is expected of you.
But I think it's also misleading for yourself to assume that everyone you present this product to is going to buy right away. I think that it should be like a long-term strategy too, right? Because I think that a lot of people are sort of miss that, and once they reach out to somebody and they're unable to sell, they're like, well, why aren't they buying? Like, you know, like I'm getting upset. You know, this is, you know, messed up. This shouldn't be that way. A lot of the times, it's almost like you have to, you know, warm them up towards it, right? So it's like almost going back to like creating a funnel, right? So
you have to
it's
stay
like,
consistent
yeah,
and keep showing up, keep showing up. People will start to trust you because you show up for them every day, whether they consume your content or not. You're there consistently showing up, and that makes people feel safer about jumping into a relationship, whether it's a financial transaction,
of course,
or a business relationship. Especially on service-based things, people really need to trust you because they're giving you money and you're not really getting anything tangible back, right? Like, for a service, it's just what's in my head. And they're paying for a service that gets in a car and drives on a highway. Like, it's a little risky, right?
Yeah.
There's no, like, physical asset that they're getting. So people need to know that if it's for service-based businesses. For products, people need to know that somebody actually cared about making this thing. Some people need to know that. It depends on your business model and your product.
of course,
selling
yeah,
things for
absolutely,
$3,
yeah,
people will buy that without thinking at all. But
Yeah.
the right people will. The wrong people will just keep scrolling, right? But and it all comes down to targeting the right people. Like,
you're absolutely right. Though.
like I don't need all of the clients, and I don't want all the clients because half of them are going to be annoying to me. But they're going to be some other coach's ideal client. So go over there. And then I've had clients before where I've been like, I just don't think this is going to work because there's a lot of things that I've already not told you because I don't feel like you can handle it.
Yeah.
Or they've just been upset at something that I've said when it was just honesty. And I'm like, you know what? I've got a couple of people and I make some referrals at that point if I think that they're ready for coaching.
Can you speak about some of the biggest lessons maybe that you've learned from the clients that you've dealt with that were actually something that you could, you know, utilize for yourself, or you could, you know, use for yourself? It's almost like, you know, because you work with so many clients, it seems like it, right? That I'm sure there were those like little moments, right? That where
there's just so many yummy, juicy moments recently working with everybody, but
something that really stuck with you, maybe.
Yeah.
I put you on the spot there, right? Like,
I know,
there's so many things.
But it gets so deep in this program, and
I know.
I feel like I'm like betraying somebody's trust by telling.
You don't. We don't have to name names or anything else. I mean,
Yeah.
you can change some of the parts of the story. It's just what is it that you learned yourself from dealing with those people, right? Because sometimes I think a lot of the times is what we forget to realize is that sometimes when we give back, it's certain things come back to us too, right?
Oh,
and then
totally.
whether it be lessons, whether it be monetary, or whatever else. So sometimes it's those things that really kind of make you realize why you're doing what you're doing, right? So that's kind of why I'm asking you.
Every second of my day, I feel like it's like that. When I work with somebody, I honestly have, like, I can see a vision for the company that they can't see usually, because I'm just looking at it pragmatically. I'm like, I can see how this could grow, and they can't. And the biggest lesson that I apply to myself all the time, because I see it unfold in front of me all the time, is to get the hell out of my way. And to try to look at my own business and my own life the way other people might be looking at it, with that I have so much potential and that I can make anything happen. And to not be afraid of claiming what you actually really, really want. So many people are stuck doing this thing because they went to school for it, but they really want this thing over here. Like,
it's so true.
So there's a story, and it gives me goosebumps all the time. So, she's a photographer, and she is amazing. And I asked what she wanted her business to grow up to be one day, and she got a little emotional. And I was like, "What's with the emotional?" And she's like, "I've never said this out loud before." And I was like, "Ooh, that's gonna be good, great." And then she says, "I want to be a coveted art brand." I nearly lost my shit. I was like, "You said coveted. That's a big word. That is like, that's what you want so deeply in your heart and in your veins that you said the word coveted. Like, holy crap, that's huge.
Yeah.
And of course now the floodgates and we're all crying and everyone's like, oh my god, it's beautiful. And because she was like doing family portraits before. And not that she didn't love that, she loved doing it, and she felt connected with the families, and she loved doing this, but that was the vision she had for what she would become. Holy crow. Like, now we got a strategy. Like, now we're working with something.
Yeah.
And it was just a word, but it was a word that had been in her head about what, it was this notion in her that she had been carrying around for a decade about her potential, but she was too scared to say it out loud for being judged for whatever. But now she was in this space where she was like, if I say this out loud, this person's going to help me create a strategy to actually get it and not just to keep dreaming about it. And so she was brave enough in that moment to say it out loud. And then we built her a strategy. Now she's got her own studio and it's amazing. And
That's
she's
awesome.
100% on her way to creating exactly what she was feeling in that moment. Like, I'm like, holy crow, that word is so powerful. and it's those moments that make me sit back and go like, okay, am I chasing after what I really want? And I constantly do that. Every time there's a eureka moment with one of my clients, I go, wait, have I had that moment yet? When was the last time I had that moment? And I do. I have them all the time. I'm like, ooh, and I can do that, and I can do that. So I'm like on year 5 of like, I'll do that in year 5. I've got too many ideas.
But going back to it, is that what I really want to do? Because going back to remember the example you gave us with the company that you started.
Yeah, I never had any of those moments in that company. I was like, oh my god, my body.
That was probably an indicator, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and I loved it. I really, truly, I'm so grateful for that whole experience, and I'm even grateful for all the money that I'm not going to see from it again. But that's okay, because it's just an energy, and I basically just paid for my master's program.
If it makes you happy,
Really good
right?
master's program. I paid for a PhD, basically, or more, maybe even. But that's
It was a crash course
like,
PhD kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. It was awesome.
It was a hands-on.
Yeah, really, totally was.
Very, very much hands-on.
Maybe that's where the research part came into my whole vibe. But it didn't kill me, and that's the biggest lesson. Like, I epically failed, and it didn't kill me. It actually made me so much stronger, and I'm a way better coach. I'm able to serve so many more people now with authentic information. Like, I've been there, guys, in passion. Like, seriously, you've seen that coming. I've seen that train. Do not go. Do not let us go. Wait, stop. Hold on.
Do not go to jail.
Hold the train, because I don't think you want to go down that path just yet. Like, wait. So, and they're like, oh, wait, there's a story. What is the story? I'm like, okay, so this happened one time. Okay, good. We won't go there. But also, just because it happened to me doesn't mean it's going to happen to everybody, especially not with me cheering them on, because I'm going to make sure they're following their strategy. And I didn't have a me. I built the strategy, but I didn't have a me keeping me on it. Like, nobody was holding my hand to the fire. So I'm like, well, I built the strategy. I could change the strategy. I'll just do something else. Yeah, so I needed a me. And I actually, at the time, I applied to a whole bunch of mentorship programs. And every time I applied to a mentorship program, they actually asked me if I would be a mentor. I'm like, no, not what I am here for. But because I was too old to...
Why do you keep saying that word? It's not true.
It's not true.
No,
You're
it's not.
absolutely
It's
right.
not.
But you try to be plus 40 and
What?
go into a mentorship program. Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yes. Futurepreneurs. Well, I wanted to be a preneur in my future. No, cutoff 39 is the cutoff for, like, all the things. So I'm like, okay, I just going to have to be my own mentor. And I did find a few mentors / investors who gave me some good advice, but it wasn't like a structured coaching situation where I was paying for it and it was like monthly and I had like deadlines and targets and things. It wasn't any of that stuff. So I was like, well, if I just don't call the guy again, then I guess I don't have to tell him I missed that deadline. Like, nobody was following up with me, and I was too busy doing all the things. So yeah, I get so much out of the work I do with my clients. It's just so much joy, and like, yeah, everything, all of the things I've gone through, I'm able to give them the experiences, and like, please just learn, please just like do this, and if you're not going to, that's super cool. I will totally help you recover from falling down, because it's hard to fall down when you don't have anybody being like, totally, I get you, good for you for trying, let's keep going. I'll beat you up to get you there. I'm not gonna beat you up after you fall. I'm just not going to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure you get there and as resilient and strong and focused and confident as you can be. But if it doesn't work out, I'm gonna be there to, like, I'll be the first one to buy you a drink, crystal ball, to be able to tell everybody this is exactly the strategy that will work. For the most part, they work because they're specific.
Yeah.
But the strategy is a piece of paper. There's human beings involved that have to actually execute. And if somebody drops the ball, then sometimes you have to shift the strategy to support a resource that isn't providing as much as it could.
Right.
Whether it's a piece of machinery that breaks, or the audience that you've developed on social isn't the right audience for your product, because sometimes that happens, especially on Instagram.
Sure.
A coach will end up getting followed by all the coaches.
I mean, we've noticed that with some of the businesses that we do as well. Yeah. It seems kind of counterintuitive, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense, because it's like they want to. They all want to see what you're doing. So it's like, yeah. I think just in conclusion, one last question I want to ask you is, I think it's probably a lot easier for you to keep motivated now with just getting up every morning, knowing that you're trying to help other people, right? But before that, like with your other business and everything else, like what was like the one thing that you always kind of stimulated you to always try to be kind of motivated, right? Because I mean, we all have those challenges when we wake up one morning, it's just like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, like it's just, I think we all go through those struggles, but
yeah,
that's one of the things we always try to inquire with a lot of the guests. We tend to find out that a lot of the times it's almost like it's their upbringing in a lot of the ways too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to hear from you more.
So I think it's two things. My kids are my driving force for everything, and my husband, they're awesome, and failing in front of them sucks beans, like a lot. It's awful. So getting up every day and doing my thing has always been for them, because how can I tell them to work hard and chase their dreams if I'm not doing the same thing? If I am working somewhere when my heart's not in it and it's menial and the light goes out, that passion light goes out, I'm like the biggest hypocrite on earth to them. And that's all that matters. And they don't have to be entrepreneurs. They don't have to be anything, but I just want them to be passionate about whatever it is they're doing, and to feel like they are doing the thing that they are called to do, and they're giving back the way that they are called to give back, and whether it's faith or whether it's just pride, I don't know what it is, but I want to be able to say to them at the end of the day that I was me all day long, and I was giving everything I got to everybody that wanted it all day long. And that's just what keeps me going every day, and it always did. Also, a weird work ethic. Like, I think the Gen Xer in me is like, get up, work. And we all started our careers when there was no job, so everybody was working for free just because our parents wouldn't let us sit on the couch all day. Like, we had to get out of we had to do something.
Yep.
So we couldn't stay home and play video games because there wasn't any. That just wasn't a thing. We weren't stuck on our phones, and so we were bored silly. And so you just went to work. And if you had to work for free, that's fine. You just worked, and eventually someone paid you for something, or you kept the change from the coffee, like whatever it was. But so that kind of work ethic is still in my head. Like, I need to get up and I need to work, and I need to work all day doing something. And I've always been like that. My mom was a teacher, and my dad was an office guy. Not really an office guy. That's another podcast. But they worked hard, and they worked long careers. But they came home, and when they were home, they were home. And so I do have a part of me that's like, wait, but that teacher gig with the whole summer off, like that's good. But I think I'd have to be fairly intoxicated to be a teacher, like all the time.
That would not be a good thing.
Like I just don't think I could do. I just don't think I could do that at all. But I do like the idea of teaching and empowering people the way that my mom did as a elementary school teacher. But she was always everybody's like empowerment cheerleader, and I think that. And she always made me feel so good, and so did my dad. Made me feel so good about just who I was and everything that I like, the contribution that we all had. So that was kind of the flavor that was in the dynamic, but it wasn't necessarily tied to a profession. It was like just that's who you are as a person. Be that person wherever you are. And so the idea of being able to teach and empower people to be their best selves and to be all of the things that I can see them becoming, like just giving them the permission to do that and try for that is like the biggest joy that I could ever have. So that passion is what gets me up and out of bed and working and trying things and meeting people and failing and trying again and like I don't really, well, that's not true. I was going to say I don't really. It doesn't sting so much to fail, but it totally does every time. Like it really sucks.
No, of course.
It sucks. But it's not the end of the day. Like success isn't final, and failure isn't fatal. So, what you're striving for the success point, but when you get there, you're gonna pick another point. So, if failure means that you didn't get to that success point, okay, you were gonna pick another success point anyway. If you had got there, you're just picking it earlier. So go for it. Like, just don't stress about it. Just do your thing. Do it really, really well. Do it for the right people and for the right reasons. And then success will happen. Just stay consistent and keep showing up every day. And that phrase, the keep showing up thing, I think is coming out a lot now. I had a boss, my very first real boss. I worked at Jaguar Cars. Her name was Judy Stirrup. Yeah, I know.
Did you sell Jags? What did you do there? Did you sell? Did you actually?
Public relations.
Oh, okay. Well, awesome.
My very first big girl
amazing.
Job. And she worked in she had to bounce back and forth between Jaguar in the U.S. and Jaguar here, and I was like, how are you saying, like, this is crazy? And she's like, honey, all you have to do is show up with everything you got every day. And I'm like, that's it. That is it. And that was like the biggest light bulb moment. It's like, I don't need to know all the things. I don't need to be all the things.
It's the effort, yeah.
I just need to show up and give it everything I've got every day. And I do that in all of the things, in my relationships and anywhere that I am. When I'm there, I show up and I'm everything I got. So I kind of just wake up thinking like, okay, I got to show up today. Where am I showing up? Sometimes I show up only on Zoom. And I'm like pajamas at the bottom, and then I've got my fancy top on, and because I just have to show up from the waist up. I don't have to all the way show up today. I just have to show up from here.
So long as you have that coffee that's hot, right?
That's right. Yeah, it'll game over when the coffee gets cold. Then we're done.
Sorry, guys, it's done.
Yeah, we're all done here. Yeah, but I show up. You just have to show up every day.
And as long as you do that, like that would mean for yourself that. It's like you're not allowing yourself to dwell as long as you show up and put in the effort. Because, like, even if you make mistakes, it's like you either win or you learn, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You're learning either way, really. So.
Absolutely. And so I show up on the day after a failure. I show up and like, all right, let's make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm showing up for that day is the learning. What happened? How come we didn't catch it? Where do we go from here? How do we make it better? And you just have to show up and be ready and present and to like get your shit done. Go get out of your way and just move forward. This is like the thing. Yeah. And it's fun to show up that way because you're just ready and open for what your community and what your tribe and what the world that you've created has for you. And I find when you show up more open to receive and participate in your life, then a lot more opportunities come. But when you when you wake up in the morning, you feel like, okay, what fresh hell does the world have for me today? It's not really the best approach
Yeah.
to like when
Yeah.
you walk out the door and you're sort of half ducking because you don't know where the curveballs are going to come from. It doesn't really breed so much confidence into your universe, right?
Well, unless you condition yourself to want to fight that every single day, right?
Right, but then if that's the case,
Yeah.
though, walk out the front door with a catcher's glove. Like, be ready.
Yeah.
Get your armor on. Like, if you really believe that curveballs are coming, get your gear on and be ready to catch them and throw them back.
Yeah.
Because the world's going to happen, and you have a choice of either letting it happen to you or because of you. And that is the end of the story. You can dictate how your world moves forward, or you can just get caught in the tide.
In the stream, yeah.
Right, and
And
then
just-
let it happen
yeah.
to you and the
Yeah.
sticks and everything else that gets stuck in the stream too.
Yeah.
You get bounced along, or you can just like get out ahead of it and create the wake. You, like I'm got all these analogies, crazy, They're just flying out of my head.
It's been sitting in you for too long. It's a good thing you came on the podcast.
Jeez. Well, I haven't talked very much in 3 weeks because it was cold, so I guess it's all coming out now. Yeah. Anyhow, no, but that's just it. I think it's just that notion of wanting to get out there and control what happens as opposed to letting it all happen to me.
That's awesome. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing so much wisdom with us, and so much from your experience from the
Thanks
stuff that
for
you've
having
done.
me.
I think it was awesome. You want to just let our listeners and viewers know again where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on most of the social platforms at Hijinks Strategies. I think you'll probably tag it
Yeah,
in the
well,
notes.
for sure, yeah.
Absolutely.
On my website, hijinkstrategies.ca, the /bliss online is the course if you want to get a dose of awesomeness and have 12 months of your life organized for you and set out and like be that super productive and profitable
I
entrepreneur.
think that this online
That's
course
all
is a
you-
lot more accessible too to a lot of people,
Totally,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The-
Yeah, I am doing another live bliss, large format live bliss, but not till October. So if you don't want to wait till October to get your stuff together, then head to online and I'll see you there. And I'm definitely moderating all the groups, so you get lots of me in that program. You just get me sooner than October.
Beautiful. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.